So ChatGPT just dropped this new feature they're calling study mode. And the promise is huge, a totally new way to learn with AI. But here's the thing. Is it really a game changer? Or is it just, a new label on the same old thing? We decided to put it through its paces to see what's really going on.
And that's really the big question here, right? If you're already using ChatGPT to help you study, does this new mode actually give you anything extra? To figure that out, we have to see if it lives up to the hype.
Okay, so before we dive into testing, we need to know what we're testing against. What is the big promise here? Let's take a look at what study mode is supposed to do, because that's going to be our scorecard.
So you see, the idea here isn't just about getting quick answers. It's supposed to be a whole different way of learning. It's supposed to be like having a personal tutor, One that asks you questions, makes sure you're getting it, and walks you through things one step at a time. Basically, it's promising to be your study buddy, not just a vending machine for facts. Let's see how that holds up.
All right, first up, we went for what should be its most interactive feature, voice conversation. We wanted to see if it could actually work as an English tutor, like correcting your mistakes in real time as you speak. And let me tell you, that is a massive test for any AI. It's not just about understanding words, it's about catching the little mistakes, the grammar, the intention behind what you're saying.
So to really test it, the user intentionally spoke with some, let's say, creative grammar. They were practically begging for corrections. And what did it say? Look at this. Instead of jumping in and saying, hey, maybe try phrasing it this way, it just did nothing. It was totally passive, saying that was great and then just waiting for the next command? Oof, that's a total failure for a proactive tutor.
I mean, you can't really misinterpret this feedback. This wasn't a small bug or a little quirk. The person testing this called it deeply painful and awkward. Yeah, not a ringing endorsement. So on the voice tutoring front, study mode was a complete and total flop.
Okay, so the voice test? A definite bust. But maybe that's not its strong suit. Maybe the real magic happens with text. So for our next test, we decided to see if it could be a better tutor when you're working with, say, documents or trying to understand complicated writing.
So now we're on to test number 2, focusing purely on text. We gave it a couple of tasks. First, take a PDF about the IELTS exam and turn it into a study guide. Second, take a really dense, flowery paragraph and see if it can break it down. Teach it step by step.
And wow, right away, things looked a lot more promising. We asked it for a lesson on the exam, and it came back with this super clear, really practical 4-step guide. It told you exactly how to handle the task card, what to do with your prep time, and how to structure your answer. This is actually really, really helpful advice.
Okay, next up, we threw this ridiculously over-the-top, flowery paragraph at it. And honestly, what it did was pretty amazing. It didn't just give a simple summary. No, it made a table, breaking down every fancy phrase into plain English. But the best part? It then gave the user a template to practice writing the same way. Now that is the kind of step-by-step teaching we were looking for.
So at this point, it feels like we have our answer, right? It's a classic tale of two tests. The voice mode was a bust, but with text, study mode absolutely nailed it. It did exactly what it promised, structured, step-by-step lessons. But, and this is a big but, this is exactly where things got weird.
Just when it seemed like we understood what study mode was good for, our tester noticed something that completely flipped the script.
And what he found is really the whole point of this story.
You know that super successful text lesson? The brilliant paragraph breakdown? Well, turns out study mode wasn't even turned on. He'd forgotten to activate it. All of that great stuff was done by just regular old ChatGPT.
I mean, this just blows the whole thing wide open, doesn't it? If the normal version of ChatGPT can already do all this amazing study stuff perfectly, then what on earth is study mode even for?
Okay, so to figure this out, we had to do one last test. This time, making absolutely sure study mode was actually on, we asked it to teach a pretty advanced conversational skill, just to see if that promised back-and-forth tutoring style would finally show up.
The topic we chose was hedging language. That's basically a fancy term for how you soften what you say to be more polite, especially when you disagree with someone. And yeah, the AI gave a pretty solid definition and a great example. So far, so good. And here, finally, we get a little bit of that back and forth it promised. The user gives it a shot,
and the AI comes back with a version that's just a little bit more natural, a little more conversational. So it was helpful, sure, but the tester's feedback was that it still didn't feel all that different from what you could get just by using a good prompt in the regular mode.
So where does that leave us? Let's break it down. The voice mode? Forget about it. It's unusable right now. For learning a language, the best results we saw actually happened when study mode was off, which kind of suggests that for a lot of things, there's not much of a difference. Now, maybe it's better for really structured stuff like math or coding. That's possible. But based on what we saw, it's really hard to say what makes it special.
And that brings us all the way back to where we started. Is this thing a real learning partner, or is it just a new label slapped onto the same box? From what we've seen here, the answer is murky. It really makes you think that maybe the best study tool isn't a new mode at all, but just asking the right questions in the version you've been using all along.